I'm Patrick Paolantonio right now on Upfront. The final sprint, in-person early voting now 48 hours away. Matt Smith bringing us inside the U.S. Senate campaigns. Democrat Tom Nelson on whether Mandela Barnes can rebound. Republican Brian Schimming on Ron Johnson's biggest challenge. Then the Cook Political Report, the latest numbers and forecasts coming in. Their expert standing by. And new moves by Harley-Davidson in Wisconsin, driving a big conversation this weekend about what post-pandemic office life will really look like. The announcement and implications just minutes away.
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Patrick Paolantonio. 16 days to go. In-person early voting starts Tuesday, and the final sprint is now underway. Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes kicks off a 16-day bus tour tomorrow in his attempt to unseat Republican Senator Ron Johnson. It's a critical race with national implications and questions now about whether Barnes can rebound. Matt Smith is on the campaign trail.
Hello, how are you today?
The final sprint in Wisconsin.
We have breaded perch, breaded cod.
In a critical U.S. Senate race.
There you go.
Between the sea of popularity.
Excellent choice.
Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Mandela Barnes is looking for an October rebound. Campaigning in Milwaukee this past week, trailing in the polls. Democrats have already pointed fingers and expressed worry about their chances to unseat Republican Senator Ron Johnson.
Hello, Ron. Hi.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
We met former Democratic Senate candidate Tom Nelson in Appleton this past week, who was one of 3 Democrats who dropped out and cleared the field for Barnes before the primary.
When we talk about the race, you've been highly critical of National Democrats and the National Party recently.
I think that this is something where I think National Democrats have gotten the message. I think if you look at what's happened before this week, Democrats are being outspent though, but if you look at what's happening in the next 2 weeks, the point where you're coming up against the election day, they are doing more points, they're spending more money. And that's important for a couple of things. One, it's going to get the message out. It's get the message out when people are making a decision. But second of all, we're also going to part of the campaign where there's going to be more and more emphasis on the ground game, on the grassroots campaign, the door-to-door, which is especially important here in the Fox Valley. And so the volunteers who are getting their walking packets at the office and making phone calls, they're hearing the cavalry. The cavalry is coming. It's, it might be just over the ridge a little bit though, but it's going to be here.
Is this too little too late though from the party?
Well, I mean, I think that you're going to find out, after the election, of course, though. But what you're seeing across the country, there are races that they had a lot of money in, and they're pulling that money out and they're putting it here in Wisconsin. So people who are way above my pay grade are seeing something. And maybe it's not something that we've been picking up, but look, there is a lot of money though, but the National Party has been very selective on where they're putting their money, and they won't be throwing the money away.
Nelson, who endorsed Barnes after dropping out, recently raised eyebrows in his public criticism of both the Barnes campaign and Democrats nationally, telling the New York Times, quote, the campaign needs to fire its media consultant, adding they're losing, and recently with CNN.
To have the National Party come in and screw things up in the first month of the general election, in my book, is unforgivable.
Here we are 2 weeks out. It seems like you've tamed your criticism a little bit on how this campaign is run and the involvement from the Democratic Party nationally.
Well, part of it is I've been on the ballot. I've worked for candidates in election cycles where you don't change up. You don't recognize that we need to change the strategy in order to win.
Did you feel like you needed to speak up?
I think, well, it wasn't just me. There are a lot of people. I mean, you go to the doors, you talk to these volunteers, and you start hearing, okay, all right, we all know we have to get this right. Maybe we have to change some things. But now that the National Democratic Party is coming in, they're putting so much more money on TV, the points are going up and so forth. That's exactly what those people at the doors need. I cannot tell you how important it is, how much of a morale booster it has when you know that you have air cover, you know that's not just you, it's not just your community, but you have an entire state and hopefully the infrastructure around the country that's going to make sure that you can win this.
Is there a likely chance that he can still win this,
Oh,
he's behind in
absolutely.
every poll.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if he did not have a chance, you would not have these resources coming in. You probably wouldn't be doing a 14-day, 100, event stop. I mean, I did 72 counties in 43 days. I thought that was impressive. He's doing 100 in 14 days. He's giving it his all. You know that he understands. He understands that we are in a year where the national winds are going against us.
Johnson and Republicans are looking to capitalize, holding events this past week with former acting director of National Intelligence Rick Grenell. The two-term senator's social media also showing the retail politicking that has defined this state. Longtime Republican strategist and Johnson surrogate Brian Schimming.
Let's talk the polling. Is Johnson up 6 points like Marquette says, or internally is it a little closer?
Well, he's up a little bit right now by almost every poll that we've seen out there. And so whether it's internal or external, most of the polls right now are reflecting almost exactly the same thing. And that is that the trajectory of the race has changed very dramatically. Taking the Marquette poll where the day after the primary, Barnes was up by 7 or so, and now he's down by 6. Now, I always remind people, so all the punditry and everyone was saying back then, Ron Johnson's numbers are such that he can't make a recovery like he did in the first race in 2010 or in the second race in 2016. Well, the recovery's been made pretty dramatically, not just in one poll, not just in 2 polls, but every poll out there.
Seems like inside the Johnson campaign, they're feeling decent. They're feeling okay as we sit here a couple of weeks out. What's their biggest challenge? What's their biggest concern in these final days?
Well, we have seen by the latest finance reports that tens of millions of dollars are coming in against Senator Johnson. And so you can't dismiss that. There's an enormous amount of national left-wing money pouring into the state against Ron Johnson.
Nationally, there's a lot of hot Senate races across the country that are receiving
there
a lot
are.
of attention and a lot of oxygen. For national Republicans, is there still a lot of focus on Wisconsin in these final days?
Absolutely. I have said to people across this state and all the events I've been talking to, from Green Bay to Madison to Appleton to Eau Claire to Wausau, the truth of the matter is Ron Johnson's seat is important by itself because we do have a contrast between 2 people, but it's important to the national atmosphere and what may happen in the U.S. Senate. I don't have enough money to make a bet on what's going to happen in other races in other states, so I'm pretty focused on Wisconsin. But the truth of it is there's 5, 6 races out there. They're going to make a difference on control of the U.S. Senate. And Ron Johnson's race is certainly one of them.
Election night, how close do you think this race is going to be?
Oh, I don't know. It's difficult to say. It's a matter, you see the polling as we all see it, but it's a matter of turnout too, all around the state. And so really, I say to our folks, look, we don't care what the polls say. The Ron Johnson campaign, it's nice to see a poll that says something favorable about that, but the truth of the matter is there isn't a poll out there that matters between now and November 8th. The only poll that matters is on the night of November 8th. And for that, we need everybody to turn out. If our folks turn out and people who are concerned about inflation, concerned about crime, concerned about the economy, if they turn out, Ron Johnson wins, and it hopefully will be more than a point or 2.
Coming up in just minutes, new analysis and the forecast from the Cook Political Report. But first, a surprise announcement from Harley-Davidson, a changing workplace landscape. Is it the wave of the future statewide? New insight next.